There we go. Yay. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Gosh, it was nice to see Scott here really, really early. Thank you for that, Scott. Thank you, Fiaxerus and Butch and Kaylin for being here, Tucked by V1. Good to see you all. So thank you so much for being here. Tonight is our last Monday night book club meeting. Remember, we're going to change that to Wednesdays starting next year. So it won't be New Year's Day. It won't be. Ooh, Helen told me I needed to comb my hair. I didn't do that. Oh, well. Wednesday is going to be January 1st, New Year's Day. So we aren't going to do anything that day. However, the following week, on January 8th, we will be on Wednesday evenings. I told you a while back that I really wanted to get involved in our ham radio club, and it has a frequency, a net get together every Monday evening at 8 o'clock. So I teach the Getting Ahead and Just Getting By World class on Tuesday nights. The first Thursday of the month is our ham radio club meeting. The second Thursday of the month is our Aries meeting. The last Thursday of the month is our fiction book club meeting. So Thursdays are out. Fridays, I always moderate Prepping with Sarge. I guess we could do it later, but people really want their weekends to themselves, Fridays and Saturdays. So don't do anything there. Don't want to come up against Kaylin on Sunday. And Kaylin, I'm so sorry I missed you last night. My grandchildren and daughter flew in from New Jersey for the holidays, and I spent last night playing Candy Crush with my 4-year-old grandson. So instead of watching you, I was playing Candy Crush with him, and I don't know the game that we were playing with my 6-year-old, but he was teaching me how to play it. How's that? So anyhow, if you're new to the channel, welcome. We're so happy that you're here. We have a great group of people. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to them. My moderators have the authority to get rid of anybody who is being, let's call it a rectal orifice. So if you can't be nice, kind, polite, if you're just going to troll, then they'll just kick you out. And please be kind to them. They all volunteer to be doing what they're doing, and we have a really tight knit group of people here. Thank you so much for that. I do want to take just a minute and acknowledge something Fiaxerus said last week on the channel. I was talking about strategic targets, and Fiaxerus brought up the fact that Takamo was not that vulnerable and probably not a target. I agree, it's not a target. So for those of you who don't know, Takamo it's an acronym. How it came into existence, nobody knows. But basically, it translates to take charge and move out, TCAMO. But it is the Boeing E3 and Grumman E6. And I have read, but this was a year or two ago. I have read that they want to go back. Originally, it was based off of a C-130. And I think it's called an EC-130J, if I remember right. But please, this is not an authoritative statement. This is, in the fog of a 72-year-old mind. So, I could have that wrong. But I think that it originated on a C-130 or a C-130 platform. They want to go back to the C-130 platform. When they came out with the E3, what it does is it's our airborne command post. And when we used to have it up 24 hours a day, 1 or 2 of them all the time. And then the Berlin Wall fell. We felt we were safe from Russia. Then China came up. We had everybody on call, so we didn't have a bird up in the sky all the time. Now we're back up to where we have 1 or 2 up in the air most of the time. I'm going to say probably 23 hours and 59 minutes a day out of 24. But that's the airborne command post. The modifications to the E3 are extensive. They changed out all the flight controls so that it's not based off of a 707 anymore. It's based off of a 737. And then they had to change the stabilizer and the tail struts and everything else, because what it does is it reels out a 1 mile long, approximately, radio antenna out of the back. Now remember, if you take the number 300 and divide it by the frequency, that gives you the meters of antenna that you need. So if you're going with extremely low frequency, which is down, in the hertz rather than in the kilohertz, and that's where we can use basically how do I want to say this? We use the medium of water, and it's a better conductor of radio signals than is air. And so we believe, or I don't know how to say this properly. It is assumed that the VLF can be transmitted and received from submarines without them having to surface to receive the signal. I don't know the veracity of that, but otherwise, why would an airplane have a mile-long antenna that it's trailing out the back? If you look on some of the flight trackers, you'll always see them doing very big, elongated loops because they have to really make a wide turn in order to keep that mile-long antenna in its the way it's hanging out. Theocritus's thing was that we have to be careful with declaring what the runways are. And I made a mistake, by the way, and I'll point that out here in just a minute. But anyhow, he was talking about they have the capability of landing and then getting back up. So here's what the E3 and the E6 do. If the assumption is that we have, now remember, we have somewhere around 20 to 30 minutes. It is assumed if we have an over-the-pole ICBM coming from China or Russia, okay, which is going to be the shortest way to get here. I think it's somewhere around 20 some odd minutes, advance notice. So that then the president can order the counterstrike immediately, and TACAMO just becomes irrelevant. They issue the commands to the submarines, but if you listen to 11175, which is one of the HFGCS high frequency, what does GCS stand for? Something control station. I think it's General Control Station, ground control station. I don't know. Anyhow, HFGCS. That's where they pass the EAMs and I did a video on this. The EAMs and the force FDMs, force direction messages, and so those messages will be sent out, and then of course the TACAMO will relay those to all the forces that are involved if necessary. There's probably 6 different ways that they're transmitting that same message, 6 different types of transmitters and receivers. So that is not the only way. It's a backup to the backup to the backup, so that makes sure that all those communication systems work. So we will get the counterstrike order between the time that. So what happens is you have SBIRS, SBIRS, which is a space-based infrared system, and it takes a look at the plume, the flame of the rocket as it leaves. So you have 3 different phases with an ICBM. You have the launch, then you have the coast, and then you have terminal. Okay, so in the launch, that's when the rocket is burning. So the infrared radars that we have up in space can see that, and they can measure the size of the rocket and everything else based off of the plume, the heat, and everything else. That rocket, then the engine turns off once it gets into space, and it goes into kind of like a coasting. We lose track of it. We don't know it. And then when it comes into its terminal phase, that's when, if it has a MIRV, a multiple entry reentry, a multiple independent reentry vehicle, MIRV. If it has MIRVs, and the Soviets, we know, have MIRVs, have 5 warheads per, which one is that? That's the SS-24. I forget the name, the NATO code name, but it starts with an S. Anyhow, when it starts that terminal phase, it's too late, okay, basically to intercept it. So we have about 20 minutes. The president can make that decision and order a counterstrike. So that's all TACAMO does, is order that counterstrike. So once that, and they're up in the air, so you're not going to use a strategic asset to take out, a nuclear asset to take out a flying object, okay? Just not going to happen. So is it going to be a strategic target? Nah. Maybe the ones on the ground, you might have some air bursts over Offutt or some other places where those are housed. The additional ones, you might take those out. But then once that initial wave comes and we've ordered our counterstrike, they no longer have a purpose. So, they've kind of expired. So if the Oxalis was correct, that, they serve a purpose. Yes, they are extremely important to our triad. They're extremely important to C3, which is command and control communications. However, I don't think that they are a target. Just differences of opinion. Okay. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying, I don't think it's going to be a target. Now, the mistake I made, I said that they would target any runways greater than 5 miles. I'm sorry, big mistake. I meant longer than 10,000 feet. And how I came out with 5 miles out of 10,000 feet is crazy. I have no idea. I'm going to call it a senior moment, okay? But most of our bombers, most of our fighters take fairly long runways. So if you take out 10,000 feet and longer runways, you've basically taken care of them. C5A Globemaster and the C-141 Starlifter used to take an abnormally large takeoff and landing area as well. But one of the great things is we now have the C-17. C-17 has one of the shortest takeoff and landing runway lengths of almost all of our aircraft, except for the C-130. So the C-130 and the C-17 are just phenomenal aircraft, very short takeoff and landing. So they would still be able to use the runways less than 10,000 feet, but they're probably two of the very few Air Force aircraft that would do that. I had a list. What did I do with that list? I made a list of all those, but anyhow, that's not germane to the topic tonight. I don't know what. Here I am taking notes, researching stuff, and then just losing it. Okay, so anyhow, let's get into this. We're beginning tonight, The Ultimate Prepper Pantry Survival Guide. Fantastic book. We'll talk a little bit about it. Tammy Harder, good evening. Welcome. Little Lone Prepper, great to see you as well. Let me see. Laura Mannion, good evening. Happy New Year. KP Heathen, Mother Earth Garden Club. Let me see. Gosh, we have all kinds of stuff. Teresa Buchanan, good to see you. Diana 2. Did I say that? Forgive me. Half dozen years old, and so sometimes the mind stuff just kind of falls out. Gil, good evening. Good to see you, my friend. I'm sorry I missed you this evening. I don't know. Did you do anything this evening? I don't know. I am diligently studying. So in our group, we have a couple of great guys. So I'm working on this. Our submarine commander, who's in our group, ballistic submarine commander, Earl, he was taking his general test when I took my technician class tech class ham license test. And then he has moved on. He is now an extra plus. And so then right after that, as I was I have so many things, Helen and I were talking about it today. I have too many irons in the fire. And, but anyhow, our SEAL friend picked up his tech license, and then he just emailed me this morning, he texted me this morning. He has now his general. I'm scheduled to take the general test this coming Saturday. And so we were talking about all three of us have the same radio, ICOM 7300. I said, well, I'm concerned about antenna. So he, antenna. But anyhow, been focusing on passing this test. And so forgive me for that, but that's where I am. I want to get my general. I want to get my ICOM 7300 and my dipole antenna up and running, and I want to communicate with the world. And there's this young lady, Raisa, and she is R1BIG, Roman Adin Boris Ivan Grigori, but she has an active YouTube channel as well. And so she's a Russian ham and does everything she can to promote ham in Russia, and I watched one of her videos today. She was teaching Russian to Brits, and the Brits were teaching her English, and so it was pretty good. Utah Mike, good evening, good to see you, my friend. Let me see, did I say KP Heathen? I hope so. Oh gosh, make me jealous. Yes, I was talking at our breakfast, at our ham breakfast, Saturday morning. I asked the guys, I said, guys, right now I'm using where's my cell phone? Right now I'm using oh, there it is. Right now I'm using an HT or UV82 Baofeng, and I want to upgrade. And I said, so what should I get? And what they told me was get a Yaesu FT5D. But man, that's a $300 handy talkie. Unbelievable. Satan, thank you. Scott. Thank you. That's very good. Okay, Devil Dog Prepper, good evening. Good to see you. Higgy Homestead, good evening. Welcome. Whoa, so 300 divided, that's got to be a centimeter. So let me see here. Let's do the math. So this is the question that we're working on right now. So the question is 1,609 meters is what frequency? So that would be, if I can find my calculator here, 1,609, 1609 divided by 300. No, it'd be 300 divided by that. 300 divided by 1609 equals 0.186 megahertz. So basically 186 kilohertz. That's what I'm coming up with. 186.45. You know, and I don't know if I told you or not, but my little HF, my shortwave that I keep here, it skips. So right here, I want to listen to 11175, which is our HF GCS, and this one ends right here at 10.00, and then it picks up again at 12.4. So it skips about, oh gosh, 300 kilohertz. I can't listen to it. Golly, unbelievable. I have to get another one. So that's what happens. Okay. Gosh. Okay. Okay. So the Ultimate Prepper Pantry Survival Guide, and the link for this book is in the description. Fantastic book. He's got all kinds of great lists. I love it. Oh, by the way, there is an end of year sale for Thrive Life. Go to leesprep.thrivelife.com. There, you've got the monthly sales, and you've also got the annual sales. So it said the end of the year sale, it's only good through midnight tomorrow night. So up to 40% off on some products. Then, of course, the January sale starts at midnight, January into January 1st, between December 31st and January 1st. Ground beef is going on sale. I'm getting a number 10 can of ground beef, and so take a look at that. Corn is going on sale, but it's actually, I mean, I will make money. I'm going to forfeit a little bit of money here because it's more important to me that you get food for a good cost than it is for me to make a profit. So corn is going on sale with Thrive Life, but you're going to get, for the price of 2 cans of corn with Thrive Life, you can get 3 cans of corn at Emergency Essentials, and I get nothing for that, okay? So if you want to spend the same amount of money, you can get a far better deal getting your corn at Emergency Essentials. And that's beprepared.com is their website. Okay, so he's talking about a new dawn of preparedness, a little bit of emotional stuff starting off here at the beginning. And he talks about the core principles of food stockpiling and long-term sustainability. So he says some of the things you want to include: canned goods that have 2 to 5 year shelf life. Some of them are a lot longer than that. Dried grains, he gives a list of the dried grains that he recommends. Legumes, of course, the beans and things like that. Hello, local prepper. Welcome. Oh, so if the local prepper is who I think it is with this comment, that means that he and I spend our Sundays together, and that we were recognized yesterday at church together. So welcome. Always good to see you. And he's one of the ones that I was talking about that is also looking at an ICOM 7300. And he gave me a recommendation for a dipole antenna. So the legumes, so chickpeas, pinto beans, kidney beans, black black-eyed peas, lentils, all colors. I go back and in case you missed it, I put out a short about aquafaba. That's Latin for water bean or bean water. And so one of the things that we found out was you can take the water in a can of chickpeas or garbanzo beans and actually beat that to a froth, and it substitutes for egg white. Somebody commented, one of our normal regular people here commented that they have used that, and people did not know the difference when they used that as a substitute in their baking. So that was a great endorsement. Thank you for that. Flour and other baking items, pasta, dried fruits, rice, nuts and seeds, oats, honey, peanut butter, spices, and herbs. And he gets into great detail on all of those. So I recommend you get the book so you can do that. He talks about food groups representing the diversified nutrition. You need to include proteins for muscle maintenance and repair. Proteins, basically what's going to give you the ability to lift things, move things, push things, all your major muscles. Gosh, we do an exercise at Silver Sneakers. And so we take your weight, you're exercising your triceps. So you're doing this, trying to lift that weight. And I can't believe when I got done, I've got so much flab under here. I've never had that much flab before. I didn't notice it until I looked back in the mirror and saw what I was doing, going, oh my gosh, my muscle has turned to flab. Oh, unbelievable. Anyhow, okay, so proteins. A single adult needs 50 to 60 grams of protein every single day. During times of stress or when we have a lot of activity going on around us, you may need more than that because you're going to need to repair some of the injuries that you're sustaining by doing a longer period of work than what you have been accustomed to in the past, as well as, you just remember that when you build muscle mass, you're tearing down muscle mass and renewing it with new muscle mass. So you need that to develop that new muscle mass. And he talks about which proteins are best, both in the fresh category as well as, hello, South Florida, Doug. Good to see you, my friend. So, and the shelf stables. And so he gives a wide list of those. Carbohydrates. He says carbohydrates serve as a primary energy source for the body. They're necessary for fueling daily activities and maintaining bodily functions. A normal adult's requirement of 225 to 325 grams of carbohydrates daily is essential for sustaining energy levels and supporting the central nervous system. One of the things I found out is that vitamin B12 is also essential for the central nervous system. Mine was woefully lacking, so I'm taking B12 twice a day sublingual. And the neurologist told me not to worry about overdosing with B12, that it automatically, once you get to your peak limit, any overdose automatically gets rejected through your urine stream. Fats and oils serve as concentrated sources of energy, essential for maintaining body warmth and providing sustained fuel during physically demanding situations. Goes through grains and their purpose and needs, fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, he strongly recommends both canned as well as freeze-dried. Now remember, and I can't stress this enough, whenever we're talking about different forms or choices of different forms of food or anything else, there's advantages and disadvantages, okay? So the canned version, let's take a vegetable. Let's say a can of corn. Okay, that can of corn has liquid in it, so that you don't have to worry about rehydrating it. You can use that liquid if you want to. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. Most people drain it off and use fresh water. You may not have access to fresh water in a post-apocalyptic world or a post-SHTF world. So you may want to use the water that's in that can. So the advantage is it comes hydrated. Disadvantage is that it's heavy, because you've got that water weight as well as the rehydrated corn weight as well as the weight of the can. Now, the dehydrated, on the other hand, it weighs a lot less, but you've got to come up with the water to rehydrate it. Okay, so there's gives and takes on everything. So he's giving you both the advantages of the fresh as well as the freeze dried. Let me see. Faxus has got a comment here. It looks good. He read that 14 calories per pound body weight was the guideline for moderate activity. Works out to 2,100 calories for a 150-pound person. Whoa. So what did I say he says? Oh, yeah, I haven't talked about calories yet. I talked about carbohydrates. Okay, good. Thank you for that, Theoxorus. Thank you for adding that. Very important. And here's the key. He's pointing out for moderate activity. If you increase your activity, or you're in extremely cold situations, then that requirement for carbohydrates goes up, okay, exponentially. So when you're making your, and we'll get into this a little bit more. He does a fantastic job presenting it here. I think it's next week, where he's talking about your meal planning. And you have to take into consideration all these things we're introducing this evening. What is your protein amount, your fat amount, your carbohydrate amount, your calorie count? All those things become extremely important when you're planning your foods and your meal prep in a post-apocalyptic world. Oh, I didn't know you got booted out. I'm sorry, Kaylin. Okay, local pepper says, no, that's the wrong guy. Okay. Ultimega Patriot, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. Okay. Yes, Phaoxerus, you're on the next thing we're going to talk about here in the so he talks about considering the nutritional values of vegetables, of fruits, the vitamins and minerals that they support. So he talks about all the vitamins and minerals and the amounts that you need to have in your body for different things. There's like 6 pages of vitamins and herbs and things and minerals that you need for your body. So he talks about making sure that you have long shelf life in the things you choose to store in your pantry, variety. Make sure you have condiments that provide something, bouillon and soup bases, essential spices and flavorings that he has. There's probably 3 pages. Yeah, 3 pages of spices and flavorings, to include sauces like W sauce and soy sauce and things like that. And then he has 2 or 3 pages here on specific things that people have. For example, most people say, my mother was really big about it because she always called it sugar diabetes, but it's not. It's actually carbohydrate diabetes. Carbohydrates are what produce the sugar, the blood sugar in the body. And so you want to make sure you have that. So you're producing the blood sugar, which gives you the energy, basically, so that you can do a lot more work and stay awake and all that kinds of stuff. But he gives specific dietary considerations and possible solutions for them: lactose intolerance, celiac disease, diabetes. I think he's primarily talking about type 2 here, not type 1. For some reason, everybody thinks type 2 is the only diabetes there is. Tree nut allergies, anemia, egg allergies, shellfish allergies, hypertension, pregnancy, nutrition, infant nutrition, specialized dietary preferences, pet allergies, So he talks about all those and possible recommendations on how you can handle that through food and through your food planning in order to have a good pantry for yourself. He also talks about, things that you're going to need. So for example, for personal injury, you're going to need a little bit more emphasis on certain things for example, vitamin C, D, and for if you break a bone or something like that. And so all kinds of things as far as what kinds of medicinal value they have for you. Then he talks about the importance of a 90-day survival food stockpile. I think that's a great start. I have a feeling we're going to need closer to a 5 to 7 year. I kind of feel like I'm a Mormon in that sense, that they recommend 5 to 7 years. I think that's probably appropriate. It may take most of us, and I'm still working on it, 5 to 7 years to learn how to garden. I'm still not the gardener that I need to be in order to survive with resilience. And he talks about extended resilience. Let me see here. Talks about how to organize your pantry, how your pantry should look. Go back and take a look at the thumbnail for this. I actually took a picture of one corner of my pantry. And so there's a picture in the upper left-hand corner of my pantry, if you want to see what that looks like. Then, how do you cook from your pantry, and what kind of meals do you have? We talked about that probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I probably need to do another video on that. I use Franklin Covey. I used to be an instructor for Franklin Covey, and they had a year-long planning matrix. And so I could put BLD for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I had numbers. And so I might have B1. So now in my card file system, I'm looking to see if I took it back to my office or I still have it underneath here. I was working on it the other day. I might have B1, and B1 might be a breakfast of, let's say, Mountain House, freeze-dried bacon and eggs. Okay. So now I know what that is. And then I can go to my spreadsheet and I can say, okay, B1, how many servings of that do I have? So if Mountain House says that you're going to get 12 servings of scrambled eggs and bacon from that number 10 can, I'm going to actually say, I'm going to reduce that by 25%. So if they say 12, I'm going to take 3 from that, and I'm going to say 9 in my planning. So that means if I want to have us have a B1 breakfast every day for a year, there's 2 of us. So 2 times 12 is 24. I'm getting 9 per can. I need 3 cans just so that the 2 of us can have 1 bacon and egg breakfast a month for a year. Okay, so that's kind of how that works. That's how my spreadsheet works, and I may have to show that to you again. So let me get back up here and catch up with the chat. Gosh, I'm really far behind in the chat. Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you, Ultra Mega Patriot. Yeah, the fuel is going to basically come from the sugar-producing things, the carbohydrates. Fat becomes essential for muscle development as well. I am, I told Helen I need to buy some suspenders, because it seems like I'm constantly tightening my belt and it's not working. So, I definitely need, I need to either lose my overlap or buy some suspenders. And I really don't want to buy the suspenders yet. So, Phioxerus, that you bring up a good subject. I was reading an article this morning. Let me see if I might still have it up here. Yeah, I do still have it up here. I don't know if you subscribe to the Organic Prepper. Let me see if I can do a share screen. What you're talking about here is exactly what they we're talking about this morning in this email that I subscribed to. And so it's these small yet vital things can help you survive SHTF with your sanity intact. And so one of the things that she interviewed this guy, or no, she was walking the streets of some major town, and one of the things I like here is she quotes Selko Begovic, who from the Bosnian War, My Year in Hell, Toby, Jose, Daisy, and others. So she's got a whole list of people that she's interviewed who have actually been in SHTF situations, and some of the things that they come up with. I strongly recommend that you, I'll put a link to it's theorganicprepper.com, and just subscribe to their newsletter. And it's a great newsletter. But she's talking about, how little things take on new meanings and how important things to us now become a convenience in the future. So, okay, Helen and I decided we were really enamored with this commercial on TV from Omaha Steaks. So we ordered the Omaha Steak thing. That was our gift to each other for Christmas. And then we fixed a balsamic vinegar and red wine glaze for our fillets with a mushroom and onion. What would you call it? I guess just a covering. So the mushrooms, onions, balsamic vinegar, and red wine. And that was the glaze we put on top of. Oh, it was fantastic. I know I probably will not be eating fillets. Well, first off, that's the first time we've eaten a fillet in probably 20 years. We probably won't eat another one for another 20 years, except for the fact that there were 4 of them in the box. So we get to do it once again. But I know that in an SHTF situation, a thing like a steak or even, just a chicken breast, that's going to be difficult to come by. So those are going to be extremely comforting foods for us. But in here, she's talking about how hardships have different effects on different people and how different rewards and everything else are really important. So make right here, Organic Prepper, the Organic Prepper. Make sure you go to that site and subscribe to the newsletter. Just really great newsletter. But anyhow, she's talking about there was a homeless guy, so she decided to take him into a coffee shop and feed him a meal and help him with a cup of coffee. And he was crying of joy. And he had lost his job. He hadn't had a decent cup of coffee in over a year. And he was just enthralled with the smell of coffee. Imagine you haven't had a cup of coffee in a year, and then you smell it brewing, and the joy that brought to him. So it was a very simple thing that brought a lot of joy. So that's why Rudy, the Alaska prepper, vacuum sealed some Snickers bars, and he opened them 7 years after he vacuum sealed them and said they were still good. So if you take a look, once a month, I'm buying a bag of Snickers bars and I am vacuum sealing those because I think that's going to be important for me in the future. I also vacuum sealed, no, this one's not, but I also vacuum seal a package of Swizzler licorice. I saw a video on how to make paydays at home, payday candy bars at home. So I bought all the components. I have those stored. I'm not going to try to vacuum seal the payday candy bars, but I do know how to make them now, so I can do that with all the equipment that I have now. So make sure you have a lot of things. There are going to be rewards for you to celebrate things. You can get canned turkey and then, of course, cranberry sauce and stuffing that you can vacuum seal, and turkey gravy, instant mashed potatoes, cans of yams. Now you have your Thanksgiving dinner next year after SHTF already planned out, and you have it organized so that you can have a fantastic Thanksgiving dinner and you can celebrate a holiday. Same thing with Christmas. If you don't want to go the canned turkey route, you can go the canned ham route, and pretty much the same thing. Peas, corn, whatever. You can make a green bean salad or casserole. All the wonderful things you can do. Start thinking about that now so that you can reward yourself, because those little rewards are going to be extremely important. I have one full tote bag full of hard candies, butterscotch, root beer, um, Lifesavers, Jolly Ranchers, just all the hard candies that I know are going to stay hard. They're not going to melt or anything else. And so I have one big container just full of those sweet tarts, things like that, because those are going to be what I can give to people as rewards. That's going to be something above and beyond the normal chicken noodle soup. So people know it's something. So Kaylin's kind of endorsing what we said about comparing the standard US MRE to the MCW meal cold weather. The MCW has more calories and carbs, and she says that my mic is kind of becoming entangled, and so it's freeze dried instead of wet packed. Great idea, Utah Mike. So W sauce, hot sauce, soy sauce, anything like that. Absolutely. Tabasco sauce theoretically never goes bad. I have some, I just bought one. I was watching a video and he said to get Dale's sauce for pork. And I have an awful lot of freeze-dried pulled pork. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. So this guy said the combination of Dale's and soy sauce. And he had, was it soy sauce? No, it wasn't soy sauce. It was Dale's and barbecue sauce. And he had a pork sandwich like you would not believe. Or at least that's what he said. So I figured I'd try that. So I bought a bottle of Dale's sauce. You saw it in my haul video this last Saturday. Let me see. Okay, so winter, I guess they're figuring for normal activity, or is this for strenuous activity, Theoxorus, as far as 4,500 calories a day? I was looking we bought some fried shrimp that's frozen. You just have to oven bake it at Costco. And so we had fried shrimp, 3-bean salad, and potatoes for dinner this evening. And I was looking for ketchup. I couldn't find any. And I found my German curry ketchup in the pantry and in our everyday pantry. And so it hasn't been opened yet, but I didn't want to do that. So I just used some packets that we got from the hamburger joint the other night. Yes, Ultra Mega Patriot. I heard about that. Somebody lost their key, and evidently the Chinese found it and got into the U.S. Treasury Department. Do not be surprised if a whole bunch of things don't go wrong all at the same time. We're anticipating a polar vortex coming here. We're projecting here in the greater Austin, Texas area on between the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th of January. It's going to be around 18 degrees. That is unheard of down here. So we're going to have a lot of broken pipes. We don't put our pipes that far underground. That's going to provide, I don't know if it's going to freeze the pipes in the ground or not, but, we never know. We probably will lose power. So I'm putting out an email to our homeowners association here saying, hey guys, now's the time to start making sure you have the covers for your hose bibs, making sure that you keep water dripping. What are you going to do in case you lose power? How are you going to stay warm? If you have a medical device that requires electricity, how are you going to ensure that if the grid goes down, you have electricity? So start making those plans now about generators and other things like that. So yes, you're absolutely right. So financial collapse is another one of those things that's there that is there to be considered. Absolutely. Sounds like we just had a Amazon delivery. Let me see. I wish I could run too. I absolutely abhorred it when I was in the Army. So we had to do most of my time. We had the 2-mile run, and we had to run 2 miles under 17 minutes. We were allowed to do that. No, we did that. We did the 2-mile run in combat boots, 17 minutes or less in combat boots. And then in Europe, they had the USER standards, U.S. Army Europe, and we had to run 3 miles in under 25 minutes, but we were allowed to wear tennis shoes or running shoes. So, that was the USER standard, was running 3 miles in under 25 minutes. But I hated it. I deplored it. At that time, I was a smoker, so that's probably why. But that's just the way it is. Hello, One Mound. Good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. You are fairly new, so welcome. Glad to see you. Let me see what else. Craig Davis, there's another good new name. I like ground beef steak. Yes, and as a matter of fact, I have a subscription, and somebody asked me where I got it in my haul video, but there are 3 places I know of that you can get ground beef patties freeze-dried as just ground beef patties. And so the 3 are freeze-dried wholesalers, and they provide a lot. Actually, it's a military procurement company, and so they do batches, and when they do a batch, they'll leave the extras that the military didn't purchase available for civilian consumption. So they have 1/3 pound beef patties. The second one that I'm aware of is, I believe it's Ready Store. Let me look here at my Amazon, what I've ordered in the past. Returns and orders. And burger patties. Come on, Amazon, catch up with me. Oh, no, that's the wrong one. I need this one here. Burger. Come on. Come on, computer, cooperate with me here. Search orders. There we go. Patty. Okay, nothing came up under burger, so let's put down patty. See what comes up there. There we go. Okay, so the name of the company is Forever Foods. So this is the one that you'll see and it's currently out. Okay, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I got kicked out. But anyhow, the name of that burger patty I have on subscription with Amazon right now, they're sold out, is Forever Foods. And then the other company that I'm aware of, and I have purchased some of the things, I get my meatloaf from this company. It's called Shelf to Table. And so there was, back in October, I had worked, it's a very small company. I worked with them, and they sponsored our monthly group meeting here in the greater Austin area, and we had a 10% code that I shared with all of y'all, a 10% coupon code if you ordered that month that we had our group meeting here in the greater Austin area. So those are the three companies that I know of that have hamburger patties. There might be more, but the three that I kind of have a tendency to go with are freeze-dried wholesalers, shelf to table, and Forever Foods. So I can say that I am satisfied with the products. I think Forever Foods is a little bit expensive. You would think that if you're getting an overrun off of a military contract, it would be a lot cheaper than what it is, but it's pretty good, high quality. You're going to get mixed emotions. If you do a product review of them, you're going to get 50-50. There's going to be as many people who don't like them as there are that do like them. Let me see. Where are we? And we're at 50 minutes. Okay. Never, Devil Dog. Never. I have. There's a company now that's got a big thing out about their tuna is almost as good as fresh fish, but I buy a canned trout, and of course there's nothing as good as fresh caught trout, but it does okay. So. Let me see here. Craig Davis, good. I think I've seen you before, but yeah, earlier tonight. Oh, mine. Great idea. Great idea, Utah Mike. I like the red, I think it's strawberry. So I'll alternate between the two, strawberry and this one. I have a bag of chocolate, I think it is, that I bought by accident. I thought it was licorice, and if anybody wants it, come get it. So one of the things I have learned from prepping is when I open my candies, I store them in Ziploc bags, and so I squeeze and I roll it up. So what I do is I put my licorice in here. I separate it all out because it comes stuck together. Then I roll up the bag, and as I roll up the bag, there's a little bit of an opening here in my bag, so that I'm basically squeezing and blowing all of the air out of the container, and then I seal it, and then that keeps it fairly fresh so that it's almost semi-quasi, pseudo, almost kind of sort of vacuum sealed, but it gets rid of a lot of the air. That way that stays fresh for a very, very long time. You're going to be just behind us, and I understand that it's going to intensify after it hits us. So I watched 3 different weather people today reporting the 7th through the 10th. It's going to really hit here. So the polar vortex is going to come down. It's going to hit as far south as San Antonio, and in the teens, and then it's going to move, and it's going to kind of go from here up through Missouri. So it's going to be one of those northeasterly type of a line, and then it's going to move across the country. And as it moves across the country, it's going to kind of start rotating a little bit so that it swipes through the southeast, and then you've got this line of really intense, they say up to 2 feet of snow in the New York, New Jersey area over the course of those 4 days. So yeah, it's going to be a problem child for us to start this winter. Today here in the Austin area, it was 89 degrees. So that tells you that the kind of a wake-up shock that we're going to have as this polar vortex comes down. I will tell you, Mother Earth, that right now I saw and I was so tempted, but I just don't have any space. I was so tempted. Green beans, corn, and Jiffy. Green beans, corn, and Jiffy are in racks at our Walmart, 50 cents a can, 50 cents a box for Jiffy cornmeal, green beans, and corn, sweet corn. Craig Davis. So I will tell you, I have the Vesta, I believe it's called Instafire Vesta. I always get the trade name and the product name confused. It uses 3 of the safe heats, and then it has a little fan that heat causes the fan blade to rotate, and it does keep things warm. We've used that during 2 of our Snowmageddons here. I think that's what you may be referring to. But although it doesn't burn coal, the oven burns coal, but the Instafire does not. But anyhow, one of the guys in my Tuesday morning breakfast, I told him about it. Oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, and he lives in a manufactured home, and so he used it in his bedroom. And when it was like 5 degrees outside, it kept that bedroom. He created a microcosm. And then he had that Vesta in there, and he said it kept it at 67 degrees with 3 burners going. So, that was pretty good that it could keep that small space at 67 while everything. And remember, this is exposed. So when you're in a manufactured home, you've got 6 different. You're in a cube, and all those walls, up, down, 4 sides, are exposed to that cold temperature. So the fact that he could keep it at 67 is extremely impressive as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so I assume this is the 4,500 calories that we're talking about. That was for strenuous. Okay, which makes sense. So. You're supposed to get everything, Kaylin, there. I think you're in Nebraska, right? Nebraska, Iowa. I think you're supposed to get everything about 3 to 4 days ahead of us on the solar vortex. So when you start suffering, then just rest assured we'll be suffering right behind you. Probably more so because we don't buy snow removal equipment, ice removal equipment. These solar vortexes hit us maybe once every 3 or 4 years for 3 to 5 days, and then it's over. And so, we just don't have snow or ice or anything like that down here on a regular basis. Yeah, negative temperatures. Okay. And that's a great idea. So make sure you have a microcosm inside there. One of the other things you can do is get yourself a small tent. And what you're doing is you're replicating the canopy beds that they had in the Middle Ages, where you're creating a small enclosure where you're using your exhalations basically to maintain the warmth of that small enclosure. So instead of trying to warm up a whole room, you're warming up a smaller area. So your breath kind of keeps that outside smaller tent-like area warmer, and that helps preserve the temperature for your sleeping bag. Don't know yet. Now I'm going one mountain. I'm going off of the information that Alaska Prepper Rudy, fantastic channel. Strongly recommend you subscribe to it. He opened. This is probably a year ago. He had vacuum sealed some Snickers bars over 7 years ago. 2 of them in the same package. He opened that package, tasted it, ate the Snickers bar on camera, and then re-vacuum sealed the other one so that the other he's going to go for see how long it'll go. But what we can tell you is that we know for sure that his Snickers lasted 7 years. So that's what I can give you. So Craig is probably talking about subscribing to Organic Prepper. Let me see. I just bought, and this is for the making the paydays. I did not know that they existed, and so I watched that video on making paydays, and there are peanut butter chips, just like the chocolate chips, and that's what they use to make the payday. So I got a couple bags of that, and we vacuum sealed those. I think the Chinese have basically gotten into my computer. For the last day and a half, it's just been slow. And Helen wants to buy me a new one. This one is like 8 years old. It's an iMac. There, did it again. I froze. She wants to get me a newer computer. I have been deleting stuff like you would not believe, because I tried to download a picture so that I could create the thumbnail for this show, and it said I didn't have enough memory. So I just started deleting stuff and moving stuff over to thumb drives. And so I'm trying to trying to get my computer back to where it should be as far as speed and availability and things like that. Ultra Mega Patriot says that YouTube has been doing that thing. I have a feeling mine's 90% me. YouTube could have something to do with it, but 90% me. Okay, let me see here. We use the Jiffy cornbread mix, and we mix it with cream corn. And so cream corn and then some chicken stock. And then we make that, and we turn that into a crust for a couple of our recipes. So one of them is railroad pie. We also do it with our Mexican pie. So these are casseroles where basically we take the Jiffy cornbread mix and cream corn and chicken stock, mix all that together, put it on top of basically a ground beef, depending upon the recipe, potatoes, carrots, onions, all those different kinds of things, so that it becomes kind of like a cottage pie. You could also call it something like a Southwest chicken, casserole, but we use it as a crust for that. And so having a lot of Jiffy is very important to us. Jean-L. Philippe Schocknecht. I should know what that means, but I can't get it. You'll have to help me with my German. But I forget, it's so easy to forget so much. That's why I like Raisa so much. And that's R1BIG is her call sign. And because, just the ability to refresh my Russian, golly, you forget so much. Like Saturday morning at our ham breakfast, about 8-10 of us hams get together and have breakfast at 6 o'clock every Saturday morning. And so I was talking to the waitress. And I said, I've forgotten. It's in German. It's "zu mitnehmen." So with me take, or "zum" for mitnehmen, with take, or take with, and that's takeout and or to go. And so I forgot how to say it in Spanish. And I looked at her and I said, "Is it para vallar?" And she says, "Yeah, it's para vallar." So to go. So if you don't use it on a daily basis, you lose it. That's for sure. I have no idea how to say it in Russian because I haven't used Russian now. Last time I used it was in 1990. No. I was a good fellow in 1990. So the last time I actually used Russian language, no, I wasn't a good fellow. I was at Fort Huachuca. I left Stuttgart in 1987. So the last time I used Russian was 1987. Although I've occasionally talked with people, but that's not like having to have a translator type level of knowledge. Okay, so remember, next week we're not going to be here on a Monday. We're going to be here on Wednesday instead. So thank you all so much for joining us on a regular basis. Next week we're going to be talking about Chapter 2. And Chapter 2 is Building Your 90-Day Survival Food Stockpile, Foundation for Security. So we're going to get into a little bit more depth about some of the things you like. I'm going to send off an email to Mr. Mack, Carlos Mack, see if he would like to join us on one of these sessions. He's got a couple of good books out. I'm reading this one. I'm going to have to do some research on this. He made a statement that fission bombs, even at a high altitude burst, produce radioactive fallout. I don't think that's right. But before I actually make that as a qualifying statement, I want to make sure that I have my ducks in a row. So I'm going to do a little bit more research on that. But that one just kind of struck me as odd. So thank you all so much. Listen, stay away from any large gatherings of people. I am really concerned that there could be some activity by people who don't have your welfare in their best interest. And so stay away from large crowds and keep your head on a swivel. But other than that, Happy New Year. We've made it through another one. Let's hope that we can stay together and say the same thing next year, that we can wish each other a Happy New Year as well. I am really afraid about the economy. I am really afraid about us having a financial meltdown. And I think that the Chinese are trying to help us with that, with their incursion into our Treasury Department. So the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, and 26. If I can find it here. Number 6, 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you peace. So thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you how much you mean to me. And thank you for being another family to me. Remember that we're all in this together for one purpose, and that's to come out the other side together. So thank you for being kind, polite, and respectful to each other. Thank you for accepting other people's opinions and not necessarily having to argue over something. That we can have different opinions, and that's all it is an opinion. And we can still respect each other, love each other, and get along, even though we may see things differently. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.